questions on whether they would even make the playoffs. Now, with a retooled roster, they are overwhelming Vegas favorites to come out of the East with 5-9 odds. The Raptors are behind them at 3-1, with the Celtics at 4-1. CC, what has to happen for the Cavs not to win the East?
Injury. I mean, man, they get injured. They can't afford no injury. I mean, that's the number one thing. And then, if you just look from a strategy standpoint, what if they get Philadelphia in the first round? That things are made tough for them round one, round two. I think they would beat Philadelphia, but that's an exciting matchup in round one. So I think that the overall wear and tear, that they get a tough series 1 and 2 before they face teams I think that they're better than in the semifinals and finals, and injury. Like, they can't afford an injury, especially, we know, to LeBron, but I don't believe they can afford an injury to Kevin Love or one of their other top players that they just acquired.
All right, so I want to ask you about that, because obviously an injury to LeBron would be catastrophic for this team, but we've never seen a LeBron injury, so if we say he's not going to get hurt, you think that if Kevin Love, if it came back, Kevin Love's hand didn't heal right, and he's out for the playoffs, like he's not coming back, you think that Cavs team could get beat in the East? You think that a non-LeBron injury could make someone else the favorite in the East?
Not the favorite. It says what happens if they don't win.
Okay.
This is what would have happened. Okay. But then what happened? They lost a player through an injury. Like, it's not a matter of being favored or not. If they lose a top player, they're not that talented. They can afford to lose one of their players.
So I think people probably expect me to say nothing can derail the Cavs in the East, and I've said all year long when they were struggling, before Isaiah came back from injury, after Isaiah came back from injury, before the trades, after the trades, the Cavs are going to the finals because they have LeBron James. And the Eastern Conference has been known as the LeBron James Invitational for the better part of the last decade, and I will continue to believe that. But if you were to tell me they are going to get someone is going to beat them, I would not say Toronto, who's the second best odds. I would not say Boston, who is in a bit of a free fall after that 22-4 start. I would say the team that has the best chance to beat them is the team that right now would be their first-round matchup, and that's Milwaukee. And it's for two reasons. One is if they were to meet in the first round, Kevin Love's only going to have, 4 to 7 games with these new players getting reacclimated to the team, but also because of the guy we're showing right there. Giannis has played 3 games against the Cavs this year. Now, the Bucks have only won 1 of those games, but Giannis has averaged 34, 10, and 6. And the way to beat LeBron is to somehow either have overwhelming talent around him or have a series where he's not the best player on the court. It's been a long time since we've seen that, but you could see that for a week against Milwaukee. That's how special that guy is. So if the Cavs are going to get beaten, I would think it would have to be in the first round. I think it would have to be against a team such as Milwaukee. You mentioned Philly. I don't trust Philly's youth enough, but it would have to be something like that, where Kevin Love...
You can't trust Milwaukee's shooting. Like, they don't shoot the ball well enough to be able to beat the Cavs.
They don't shoot the ball well enough, but they're so long, and ever since Jason Kidd got fired, they've been better defensively, that I think they could stymie to a degree the Cavs shooting.
Nick, in your mind, how much did that coaching change
I think it was
what
huge.
they can do?
I think it was huge. I think that Jason Kidd, from a strategic standpoint, was one of the worst coaches in the NBA. And I think he was holding that team back. And we're also now just seeing Milwaukee with Jabari Parker back for the first time. Eric Bledsoe's getting more indoctrinated in the lineup. Those guys had never played together. And so for those reasons, I think, if you were to tell me this, let me put it like this, and I'm curious who you think the answer is. Cleveland doesn't come out of the East. Who does? My answer would be Milwaukee. Cleveland doesn't come out of the East, Chris Carter. Who does?
Toronto.
Toronto?
I just believe that their second unit has improved, the way they're playing offensive basketball, going to more of a motion, and DeRozan's ability to be able to shoot from 3. I believe those are difference makers for Toronto. And also, this is the only team that I've seen that we just forget their home record. Like, when you're playing 82 games and you have the best record in the NBA at home, in these series where Game 7 is definitely going to be on your home court, I'm going with Toronto.
I love what Toronto's done and the changes they've made, and I think a lot of times going into a season, teams talk about they're changing the offense, they're going through more motions, and it doesn't actually happen. I feel like it is legit. Well, they're playing differently. DeMar DeRozan is a different level. Kyle Lowry is being as productive without having the ball in his hands as much. I'm not sure, though, they play that way in the
Nobody
playoffs.
believes in them in the playoffs.
When it's a possession by possession playoff style, that I'm not sure they don't go back to the isolation ball we see, and it's not the same flow of their offense.
The home record is a great point. Also, if you care about point differential, which is a stat I care about a lot, they have the second best point differential in the entire NBA. They have a better point differential than Golden State, despite having a worse record than Golden State. But because they have not been competitive against the Cavs in the playoffs, because they've needed 7 games to beat inferior teams in the playoffs, that's why people don't believe in them. You mentioned something, though. We're talking about how the Cavs can get beaten. If a team is going to beat them, assuming it's not in the first round, they are going to need help from the team the Cavs play in the round before. One of the reasons LeBron's been able to play 42 to 44 minutes a game in the playoffs since he's come back to Cleveland is in the 3 years he's been there prior to this year, they've never played more than 2 games over the minimum in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
Every year they've swept 2 of their 4 series, and then the other series either gone 5 or 6. So you have enormous amounts of rest between series. You also never play back-to-backs. So, yeah, I mean, if a team could force the Cavs to go 7 in round 1, and LeBron maybe can't play 44 minutes a game in round 2, that's another method in order to beat them.
Are we underrating how easy it will be for Kevin Love to reacclimate himself with the new guys, with the team, and also play like he moved to that center spot, whether he's playing the 4 or the 5. I don't think Kevin Love loves playing at the center. I don't think he loves to get banged around in the inside, and that's a lineup they're going to use a lot. Do you think it's going to take more to get him readjusted with this new roster?
I think it's actually a break for Kevin, because if he is going to play the 5, which they are a better team with LeBron at the 4.
Absolutely.
But he's only got to play an abbreviated season. Now, he didn't like playing a whole season that way, but when you talk about a series, or, Kevin, this is the way you're going to get your second ring, all right? Like, you got to play. And the playoff games are totally different. You mentioned the rest that you have in between. So he's not getting isolated as much on a 5. But in these series, man, I'm sure Kevin Love would love to take on all the 5s in the Eastern Conference. Bring them right out to the 3-point line, yo-yo them back and forth, drive them to the bucket. Because that's a great matchup for the Cavaliers. So I believe that the adjustment is easier for Kevin, because Kevin has made the biggest adjustments of anyone on the Cavs in playing with LeBron.
And Chris's point about, everyone talks about when Love plays the 5, when they play the Miami Heat, Hassan Whiteside's got such a height advantage. Andre Drummond, Joel Embiid, we know that. But the flip side is, aside from Embiid, those other guys are just drawing dead guarding Love. And if you, with the new Cavs lineup, as CeCe's mentioned, like, if you have George Hill, Rodney Hood, either Corver or JR or whomever's hot, plus Kevin Love, and you go LeBron up top, 4 out, that center's got to come out. Like, he's either got to leave the court or he's got to try to guard Kevin Love out on the perimeter, which is why that offense in particular, we haven't seen it yet with the trades, could be so deadly.
And even guarding these centers, the centers aren't dominant. They're going to go for 40 points, like a 2 or 3 guard can when they get hot. So I think that the plus-minuses really weigh in Cleveland's favor in the matchup.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch them. They just fit now. They fit. The roster does. All right, coming up, we're going west. Can the Rockets knock off the Warriors? Next on First Things First.
911, what's your emergency?